Over the weekend, Jim Fowler, our modern-day Dr. Dolittle, was the recipient of a very special honor, the Explorers Club Medal. The medal is presented for extraordinary contributions in the field of exploration, scientific research, and the welfare of humanity. Jim joins a list of past winners that reads like a who's who of the 20th century: Teddy Roosevelt, Sir Edmund Hillary, Lowell Thomas, Charles Lindbergh, John Glenn, and Jane Goodall. And as always, Jim and his friends were a big hit. This morning, we want to recognize Jim's distinguished career as a teacher, a broadcaster, a naturalist, and a friend and contributor to Today for more than 30 years. For more than 3 decades, Jim Fowler has brought home the wonders of nature to millions of American television viewers. He's wrestled alligators on Wild Kingdom, sent owls flying in the Today studio.
Oh, that's right. Hold still. He'll just land over there, no problem.
The problem is he's nesting in Shallow's hair.
And entertained Johnny Carson with a mountain lion.
He's doing his bird impression.
But underneath it all, there was always a message: respect for animals and the natural world. It seems that Jim Fowler was born to be wild. The name Fowler, in fact, means someone who trains birds of prey. Jim's particular interest in birds took shape while growing up on a farm in Georgia. His father took Jim and his brothers into the swamps, looking for rattlesnakes, water moccasins, and owls.
And I had owls as companions and pets when I was growing up.
Really?
Not to say I wasn't interested in the girls down the street, but I did have an owl, I remember, when I was quite young, that I raised, and that led me into a profession of training eagles and falcons, and that's really how I got my start.
After studying zoology in college, Jim trained cheetahs and wolves in Florida, then went off to study the harpy eagle in the Amazon. He came home, and well, the rest is history.
I was asked by Dave Garroway on the Today Show to bring those big eagles into New York. I had met Marlin Perkins earlier, 3 or 4 years before that. But on that program, Marlin Perkins and Sir Edmund Hillary were in Chicago on the same show that I was appearing on in New York. So Marlin remembered me, and he called me the next week and said, would I come to Chicago with those eagles and do the first pilot film for Wild Kingdom.
Wild Kingdom ran for 3 decades and was the #1 program back in 1968. The show was an early promoter of conservation and environmentalism, and it pioneered the concept of reality-based TV. The close calls for Jim and Marlin Perkins were, in fact, very real.
The scariest thing that ever happened, I was bluffing some bull elephants. If you act like you know what you're doing with a bull elephant, if he charges and you don't run, the bulls will stop. If you take the initiative by taking a little stick and throwing it at the elephant, of course it doesn't hurt him, but psychologically it sets him off. It's like us being in a business meeting and you're making a proposal and you hesitate. Somebody else jumps in. Same thing with bull elephants, because actually they're politicians. The males are full of baloney, generally.
Although the combination of instinct and experience helped Jim stay very cool under pressure, there were moments when he had to wonder, what the heck am I doing here?
Probably the time I questioned myself the most was when I had a 22-foot anaconda. This is a big snake in the Amazon. Grabbed me in the hand, I made a mistake, and it started swallowing my arm. And I asked myself, what am I doing here? Because it went all the way to the shoulder. Now, I didn't panic because I knew that my arm would go into shock. When anything bites you, it severs the nerve endings with the teeth. So I knew that my arm would go into shock. I wouldn't feel much pain, but later on, I'd probably have some pain.
So how did you keep your arm totally relaxed when a snake is up?
When I relaxed, the snake started relaxing because he suddenly realized that he didn't really want to swallow me.
I can't believe you were able to relax, Jim. That's amazing.
Well, again, it depends on your skill and your knowledge of what's going to happen. Had I had any fears or myths about snakes, I wouldn't probably be here.
As one of Johnny Carson's most popular and frequent guests, Jim got Johnny into some tight situations, too.
I'll be right back in just a second.
Hey,
over my very expensive... Why don't you take this animal, Jim?
Sure. Hey, take it, dude. Come on now.
New first-time Warren on the show, and you bring out a sloppy Kikachu.
Why did Johnny Carson and animals work so well on The Tonight Show?
He always showed, in spite of the fact it was entertainment, he showed a respect for animals. And he also, Johnny has the very acute sense for the absurd.
Name me one other place in this entire world of 4.5 billion people where a man is sitting with a marmoset on his head.
Is there an example, Jim, of where you think you've had a real impact?
You know, for a while, the elephants were being poached out of existence in Kenya. And we did a spot on elephants with a piece of ivory that's right here in the Explorers Club. Weighs about 400 pounds, and we took that to the studio. And we talked about young elephants and this whole controversy of elephants being killed in Kenya. And that was at a very critical time. Shortly after that, there was an international treaty on CITES that banned all export and import of ivory around the world. And I think we had something to do with that.
What do you hope you'll have contributed? I know it sounds sort of...
The big point today is not that the animal needs saving. Big point is that we humans, if we destroy ecosystems in natural areas, we may not survive because we're part of the Earth's ecosystem. That's the message that I try to get out.
And congratulations to Jim Fowler on your honor. Your visits here are always a highlight, Jim. And we're back in a moment with more on Today, right after these messages.